All right, now Corin.
And I'm Charlie Curtin. I'm a Grizzly Corps Fellow, TCRCD.
I'm Pat Frost with Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department Board.
Todd Corbett, Weaverville Fire Chief.
Kelly Sheen, District Manager of the Trinity County Resource Conservation District.
Jill Cox, Board of Supervisors. Amelia White, Watershed Program Manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District.
Philip Simi, Manager of the Office of Emergency Services for Trinity County.
All right, if our Zoom attendees can introduce themselves.
Bethany Llewellyn, Forest Health Program Manager from Trinity County RCD.
Nancy, are you there?
Yeah, here I am, guys. Nancy Curran, Field Forester on the Six Rivers Mad River Ranger District.
Okay, great. So now that we're through welcome and introductions, we can hop over to 2, which is additions or changes to the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes they would like to make for the agenda today? Nope. All right. Seeing that we have no additions or changes, we can jump right into the discussion items. So discussion item A is Trinity County Fire Safe Council regular meeting structure discussion. So there, it has been brought up in previous meetings, the potential for changing around how the agenda is. So putting project updates first, so people can kind of get through their updates. So we wanted to open that up for council discussion to see if there was interest in that and if we should restructure our agenda.
I'm fine with it the way it is, personally.
Yeah, I am too. One comment I would make is maybe something that could be done through the facilitation would be not always start with the beginning of the alphabet on the updates and go to the W's at the end. Like every other month, start with W, so those folks can kind of get in early on and work it backwards. It's kind of good for cognition too, to work backwards. But it's just a way so that the Willow Creek isn't always the very last one.
Right. Okay.
I know this, I'll provide a little bit of reasoning. I know the reasoning behind the requested switch was because there's an interested party who can generally only attend the first hour that wants to hear the second half of the meeting, but isn't available for the second half of the meeting. So that's kind of where the request was coming from, just as some background. But I think both components are integral to what we're doing, and if the current consensus is that we don't need to change, then I would suggest keeping it as is.
And I would say that if there's if that individual or any individual has a particular update that they're really want to hear about at the very beginning, where it says additions or changes to the agenda, they could always ask, hey, I got to leave in an hour. Can I hear about Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department's hazard reduction program?
Right.
Or if somebody has an update that they can't
And they can't stick
stay
around.
for, just asked, I'd like to, can I be called upon early on due to time restraints?
Ooh, on that note, we have a go back. We have an addition.
To the agenda?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we need to ask for a letter of support for the defensive space grant that we're applying to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can add that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how do we feel about alternating the alphabet every month? I mean, I'm open for that. I understand. We can change it around.
I think that's great.
Okay. Okay, so if there's no more comment on that, we can move over to agenda item B, which is the update of the Trinity County Fire Safe Council MOU. So we have, I can pull it up on our screen, and then I also printed out copies of it for everyone here in person. So based on previous meeting conversations, there has been a request to add language regarding the chair position as well as how the voting structure is. So, but the other conversation that's happened on the MOU has been like, we have these sort of laid back meetings. It allows us to get through meetings quick, but also get a lot of work done and go through project updates quickly. So in majority, the MOU is the same as the previous MOU. The only real change is there is addition of section F, operation of conduct. So this has added, and that it's on the back. So it's on page 2 or the back of the front page. And so that adds language regarding the chair and vice chair position. So the 2 chairs will be representatives from the Trinity County Office of Emergency Services and a local volunteer fire chief or vice chief. And so the chair position and vice chair position will be alternating each year. For 1 year, the chair will be a volunteer fire chief or vice chief, and then the vice chair will be a representative from the Trinity County Office of Emergency Services. And then the next year it will swap. And we figured that kind of adding clarity there will help things move smoother in the future. We also add language regarding the responsibility of the chair and vice chair, which is running the monthly council meetings, providing direction to the council coordinator, and signing letters of support, as well as other appropriate tasks as necessary. Other additions within operation of conduct spoke to the agenda, that we'll have an agenda ready before every meeting for review. And that minutes will be prepared for every meeting that are available on request. And finally, speaking to the voting request to be added to the MOU, all voting shall be by simple majority. That seemed to be the consensus based on previous discussions rather than being a supermajority. And all meeting attendees have the ability to vote if they have attended a previous council meeting within the past 6 months. Based on previous minutes and previous meeting recordings that I watched on this topic, it seemed like we wanted to be pretty inclusive, like everyone, who attended and listened to discussions should have the ability to vote, but that there seemed to be like, we wanted them to attend 1 meeting in the past. So we figured if it was within like the last 6 months, then it would be really easy to see like, okay, we know that this is a regular attendee and they are wanting to be able to vote and contribute to the council. The only other changes that happened to the MOU is that we updated the principal contacts. So we have some form of contact for each organization that we have listed. So we have 6 Rivers Forest Service, CAL FIRE, Trinity County Fire Chiefs Association, TCRCD, Shasta Trinity Forest Service, Watershed Research and Training Center, BLM, TCOES, Board of Supervisors, Natural Resource Conservation Service, Association of Realtors, Northwest Resource Conservation and Development Council, and Trinity County Sheriff's Department, Caltrans District 2, Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, and Bahia Pond Fire Safe Council. So all of that being said, please any discussion or comments or anything on the revised MOU.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember from the old days. We have principal contacts in the old MOU,
Yes.
so that was never a problem. The thing I would hope that an agency can change its principal contact without having to like amend the MOU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think we.
Just language that just says that or something, just so that we don't get in some do loop. Well, for example, I mean, Heidi, Carpenter Harris is appointed by the Board of Supervisors. A year from now, somebody else could get appointed. Hate to have to completely have everybody re-sign the MOU because of a name change.
Right.
Because have it be the point of contact at the point of signing, but it's valid for the lifetime of this agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can add language like that to specify.
And can you refresh me, have this been shared, in an email with the council or anything?
This was not part of the newsletter, no.
Okay.
So we can wait to maybe approve it to the next meeting and just have this introduced.
Yep, and I would make sure that we send it out with a 14-day comment window so that
Okay.
if anybody else after the meeting today, if anybody else has any additional suggestions, that they have time to provide it to you and you have adequate time to change it and send out a new draft with the next month's agenda at the same time.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
One way to approach that might be to have, basically from each of the different organizations. Have it like the very first line basically be, like the position. And then it could be currently, and then that person
Okay,
as the signatory, or, just to kind of note that that's who is currently in that position. And then that way it's tied back to the position within the organization. Because I think that will be less likely to change over time than the actual individuals that are sitting in those positions.
So one other comment I have is that not all the signatory agencies and organizations have a primary contact list. For example, I don't think NRCS is on the signatory page, but I didn't see that as having a primary contact. You probably want to just do a crosswalk there to make sure that anybody that signed anything, has a principal contact.
And then, from my recollection, that not all the agencies listed on our agenda are listed as signers.
Right.
Do we want to expand the list or do we want to keep it as it has been for simplicity?
I would think if an organization, I'm thinking in particular, the tribes, are listed in either place that might want to be signatory to it. But then there could be a complication that because our primary tribes in Trinity County are not federally recognized, having them on here might make it more difficult for the federal agencies to sign the document. I don't know that for sure, but that I know that is the reason that tribes were not on the original.
interesting.
Because they're working on recognition, but they have to achieve recognition. The federal agencies were a little reluctant to sign something that the tribes that aren't recognized sign. A lot has changed, in how the federal agencies look at unrecognized crime. But just some, and I was wondering about approval of this. I can't imagine most of the organizations here having any issues, but do we want to float this thing by the Forest Service and BLM and Cal Fire at least before we say it's okay, or do we want to approve it on the condition that they still might want changes? I just know, I'm not saying that there aren't too many times when you write something up for a federal agency that they don't want to jinx.
Right.
And we have a special place that says the authority and format of this instrument has been approved by, and it lists 6 rivers in Chestatee. It took each iteration, even when we were just renewing the same room, it took a fairly significant review by Shasta, Trinity, and 6 Rivers before they would say their forest supervisors could sign.
My preference is to be able to have the other partners sign it before, even though we know that there might be changes,
Yeah.
because I think it could take to a year to get it signed by our federal partners, but with understanding that we will be moving forward to make the changes and work with our federal partners to get it done. But I think that, we could have that very targeted initial request in 14 days and do specific
Yeah.
outreach to
Yeah.
Tara and to the
Well,
thing
God
where
forbid
to
it
take it to,
Yeah. God
I know
forbid
we'll
if
have
this
to go
has to
through
go
the
to
lawyer.
grants and agreements.
right. Yeah. But that would be my recommendation so that we have something that we're all working
Yeah.
under in the meantime, while we're negotiating with the Forest Service and BLM to get it final. Just.
All right, any more comments on this discussion item?
Sorry, I'm the one seeing a lot.
No, that's okay.
So in the background, I was just thinking that when we did the original MOUs that you based this on,
Mhm,
we didn't have things like community wildfire protection plan.
mhm.
Should there at least be some reference in the background to, something to the effect that the Fire Safe Council is kind of, one of its charges is to, have a countywide community wildfire protection plan and work towards its implementation. Just seems that kind of makes this a little more contemporaneous, contemporary.
Yeah.
Kind of in that last, what made me think of it is the last paragraph that says over the past 5 years. It could be a spot, you could just insert a sentence about the CWPP. And for that matter, the hazard mitigation plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can add that.
The one thing that I see
Mhm.
is that, in item 11, the authorized representatives by the signatures below, the cooperator certifies that the individuals listed in the document as representatives of the cooperator are authorized to act in their respective areas. With regard to the board of supervisors, we do have a primary and an alternate
Okay,
position, which is why I'm here. I didn't know that Heidi wasn't gonna be able to be here today, but obviously she isn't. It's fine if both of us are here, and if we are, obviously, she's the one that would get that vote. But I just wonder if she's not here and there is a vote, it would be good as representatives of the board that you have that second person, and if that requires that they be listed, then perhaps we want that added.
okay, yeah, I can add you.
Yeah. Good idea. And there are some typos. I noticed there's in a few places, last names have C's in them, where they should be R's. Like Nancy Curran. Six Rivers contact,
Oh, yes, thank you.
and under the watershed center, you've got Randy. BACIS instead of PAS.
All right, got it.
Probably operating my environment.
I Nancy, it's in the email too.
That one's an easy fix, yes. Okay. I got my marching orders on what to change on here. Are there any other comments or suggested revisions or anything else? Anyone on Zoom is also free to chip in. I can move around. Okay,
The one last thing.
yeah,
So is it clear? That individuals or groups that are not signatory to this are members of, can be members of the Fire Safe Council? I don't want it to I don't want this to be an exclusive document that excludes others. For example, Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department's been very active, but they don't need to be signatory to it necessarily. The Chiefs Association is signatory. Wants to can be a member.
Yeah, apologize for tuning in late. A lot of stuff going on, and I'm gonna have to go back on mute. But yeah, I mean, that would be my question also.
Okay. I can add language to specify that, because I think it's important that people know that just because they're not listed in the MOU, they still like to clarify that that's like the voting portion of it too. Those two things I feel go hand in hand together. And like what we don't want to do is to make it so people feel like they aren't included and they can't provide comment. So I can find out a section and add that if we're all in agreement.
And I think too, it's not even just a situation where it's the Trinity Center and Volunteer Fire Department underneath the Chiefs Association of the signer. It's also just members of the public
Right.
participating.
Mhm.
And so we want to build that language in. Residents, of Trinity County,
Mhm.
participate on them.
We are all members of the Fire Safe Council.
If
And
you
are,
want
sorry,
to, I'll ask this one.
Yes.
are the, do you have, apologize again for coming in late. Do you have the Firewise communities pulled out as being members of the Fire Safe Council?
These acknowledged Firewise communities in some way.
But I mean, it's like you have an active Firewise community that's got a board and all that kind of stuff. Would they be considered a member of the Fire Safe Council, or they're just kind of like out in limbo somewhere?
So we discussed that a little bit last year when we talked about it, because we talked about, did we only want to have representation from the communities as like voting, so each community needed to be represented, and that was the voting structure. But because some communities are more active than others, and some communities already have that representation, we didn't pursue moving forward with that. I think that we could just put it as part of the mission that the goal of the Fire Safe Council is to maintain the 13 existing Firewise communities and support the development of additional Firewise communities as driven by community interest and participation.
So maybe under E, the priority task for coordinated actions. It could be something to that effect. Or under the improved coordination among local, state, and federal resources, maybe if it's in there.
Do we want to add to our duties that it is our duty to help facilitate the local area advisors, or do we want to eventually hand that back to the county?
So say that again.
Should the Fire Safe Council add to that cooperation and the facilitation component to assist in facilitation of the enrollment of local area advisors? Do we want to draw it out so black and white, or do we want to leave it so that one day it could go back to the county's responsibility?
Keep it as loose as possible. Maximum flexibility.
But if it's under the memorandum and the county is a
That's fine.
signer, then it doesn't really matter, because it's saying that
Right.
some of these entities may participate in
Yeah,
implementing these
Yeah.
projects.
So from that, it sounds like we want to leave it off, or we want to add it?
I think we could, at the end of the line, saying increasing the cooperation and coordination between all these parties, we could say, and to include projects such as facilitation for the local area advisors. And then leave it at that, so that it's a such as and not a mandate.
right.
Okay. Okay. I have so many notes. Is there anything else?
You're doing great.
Okay. Okay. Seeing,
This is Nancy. I just had a quick comment on, the typewriter there is heavy on the speeds. I saw in the principal contact, it has to get corrected for the email. Like my last name is Curran. And then I saw Randy Paris that should be Paris.
Thank you, Nancy. I'll make sure your name and Randy's name are spelled properly.
Yeah, no biggie.
Remove the a little bit further away from you to the other side of the table. It's actually
Oh.
the circle. Yeah.
So we hear everything passing.
Well, that and also so that they don't pick up so much of their keyboard noise.
Okay, so if there's no more on that discussion item, we can move over to discussion item C, which is the Trinity County Hazard Mitigation Plan update, public survey. So last year during the Firewise community meetings, the Fire Safe Council provided a survey for residents to give feedback on their perception of hazards in the county. And we are going to be bringing that survey back around in a round of public meetings that we plan to have in June and July for a hazard mitigation plan update. So we have a flyer that I can put on the screen. Let's see. And we have, we have all of the community meeting locations sorted out except for Burnt Ranch, but I hope to get that solidified this week so we can start promoting the meeting and getting folks interested in attending these meetings. Let me put it on the screen. Here we go. So we're looking at June 25th, or excuse me, 26th, 27th, and 29th, and then July 17th, and then doing a second meeting the week of July 17th, either July 18th or 20th. Once we get that solid, we'll be putting flyers around, and part of that flyer is not just promoting these public meetings, but for anyone who can't attend the meeting, we're really trying to push to complete the survey so we can have as much public data as possible on the perception of hazard risk. That's like a really big part of the FEMA requirement of the hazard mitigation plan update and coming into compliance is making sure that we have adequate public outreach. So we're going to do everything that we can to get as much feedback as possible. The really cool thing is though, in the meetings that we had last fall, we got almost 50 responses. So we're hoping that we can build on that even more and get a good representation of the county. So I probably could have fit it in the Fire Safe Council coordinator update, but since it's kind of such like a big part of such a big project, we wanted to agendize it as a discussion item if anybody had any feedback or any questions.
And then you're doing the stakeholders meeting an hour before the public meetings as well to provide opportunities for each district stakeholders, so special districts, those kinds of things, to come in ahead, an hour ahead, and have their own specialty meeting. And then it will be a public meeting after that. The survey, what we can have it up in the next few weeks, right?
I was hoping to have it up like next week so that we can be promoting it like a month in advance of the meeting so that it's like on everyone's mind. Like for me, the goal is always like people see the flyer and they're like, man, I've seen this all over the place. I'm sick of seeing this flyer. Like it's so on the brain. I have to go to this meeting. I have to check out what's going on. What's the survey about? That sort of thing. So.
And then we're planning to go to the Board of Supervisors and do just a brief update presentation about the plans and our hopeful timeline.
Yep. So we're planning to do that in June.
So, need help getting that on the agenda? You want to do a presentation?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
June 20th.
Preferably the 20th, because that would be closer to the first round of meetings. So then it's like we can bump it and then we're into meetings. So I can reach out to Ashley or.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. You only need like a 15-minute block.
Okay.
Nice and short and sweet. Yeah.
So, Carol's got her hand up.
So you guys know what a hazard mitigation plan is, and the photographs actually help, but for most of the public, they don't know what hazard mitigation means. So I'm just wondering, when you post it on the website or your, whatever you're gonna do, social media, is there a way to kind of, maybe provide a link to the current hazard mitigation plan or something so people have an idea of what it is you're talking about? So, I mean, I don't know what all's in a hazard mitigation plan. I've never read one. Well, I read one when we applied for a grant, I guess. That's been it.
Pretty extensive. I would just think that we could put in, so people understand what mitigation is, lessening the impact on the community when these incidents arise. Trying to either build it back stronger to where it won't happen again, or to upgrade it before we have a situation. Maybe just instead of trying to get them to read an entire county document, just give them a paragraph of what mitigation is, so they can just kind of get their mind thinking without having to read
Yeah,
an
but I mean,
entire document.
so the drawing of the photo of the cracked up road, I mean, is mitigating a hazard due to, a bad road, something in there? Is, evacuation routes, in there? I'm just trying to figure out what hazards you're trying to mitigate.
So primarily the hazards which are analyzed within a hazard mitigation plan are natural or man-made hazards. So landslides, wildfire, earthquakes, flooding. The existing plan that we're building on has a section dedicated to dam hazards, that sort of thing. So these photos are.
That's good to tell people. That helps a whole lot, just to know that kind of stuff. Like you're talking about earthquakes and, all that, fires and dam failure and just some examples. Because otherwise, I don't know, hazard mitigation, does that include the trees that fell down across Highway 3 during the winter storms? I don't know. So anyway, I'm just trying to get you guys to think of it from somebody who has no idea what a hazard mitigation plan is, and you're looking for input. I think you want to guide what kind of input you want so that you don't get every single thing.
Well, and those items should be based on the hazard vulnerability of the county. What are our hazards? Primarily wildfire, flood, storm damage, communication. Those are the top 4 in the emergency operations plan for our hazard vulnerability assessment that's been done.
Yeah, but people don't know that.
Yeah, that's why, in some sort of, maybe in that paragraph, put, our top 4 hazards in Trinity County are this. Think of ways that we can mitigate to protect or lessen the impact against these types of incidents. So they're not having to look at, we're always going to have road damage because our roads are they're just wagon trails with asphalt on them for the most part. So
Yeah, I think it's just, it's just a matter of putting it in terms that Joe and Jane's 6-pack can understand.
yeah, and it's just in a very small window. If you get too
Yeah, I
big,
think it's.
you're going to have people.
It's a
bringing in-
paragraph,
Yeah.
like you said, but, just real common language. I mean, even mitigation is not a term that a lot of people are familiar with,
I had to look it up when I.
So,
And I think we can do some of that through social outreach. We can get some of that through in our press releases. We can get
yeah,
some
exactly.
of that on the webpage, as well as on the Fire Safe Council page. We can work on that. One of the other things that I wanted to get refresh on, are we planning to provide a draft to them before we do the meetings, or were we gonna do a draft later this summer?
So I'm thinking that it'd probably be better to get it after we get the public feedback, because it's what the public feedback is going to be really important in building the vulnerability assessment and like just the hazard profile, and integrating like the perception of risk for each hazard into each hazard section.
Sounds good.
Are you gonna be at the county fair? That'd be a place to get surveys
That's true.
filled out. If the RCD was gonna have their usual booth, I mean, that would be a place to have people fill out a survey and get a key gone.
The fire safety council will for sure have to do, so either way, yeah.
You know, timing, I mean, because it's the middle of July, right?
Mhm.
And as I say that, this year I'm not volunteering to work the booth, but anyway.
Copy.
We also want to make sure that the survey is accessible as possible. So if somebody's not able to attend meeting in person, you know, they can attend over Zoom. We're going to make all the meetings available on Zoom, and then we have the QR code, so somebody could just scan it. And I've tried it with my phone and it's scannable. We have the link, and then also we are going to keep the surveys at the RCD front office. So if you know somebody just wants to do a paper survey, they can come in, fill it out, and then I will add it to our survey form, because we have it like on Google Forms, and that's great because it aggregates all of the information for us, and we can just kind of look at it and see like what is the perception of risk.
Do we have a window of time that the surveys, you know, after the meetings, the last meeting? Before, you know.
Like kind of a deadline.
Yeah, so we're not, you know, bringing in a few months later, you know, well, my survey wasn't, my voice wasn't heard. Maybe we could kind of give them a little bit, of maybe some time, right? I know the flyer is getting busy with all of this information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the survey should close like the evening, probably like 2 days after that last meeting, in case they go home and tell their neighbors and their friends to do it. Something like that, you want to have it closed 11:59,
Okay.
as long as that's after fair.
That'd be July, well, we love talking like 21st, or depending on which we're talking, you know, Front Ranch was gonna be the last one,
Mhm.
possibly the 18th or 19th, or just close it at the end of July, July 30th, or 31st.
Yeah, that would work, because then it would give a solid month in August to like work through everything and not have to worry about more data to input.
And then, so then looking at getting it out, we'll probably want to do one OES quick review before we put it out for public comment to catch major things,
Oh, yeah.
because they've already looked at it once. So. we'll do it.
For Cal OES or for?
You'll have it way before then. But Cal OES.
Cal OES.
To give it a quick peek before we put it out for the public, let the public look at it. Do we need to send it to FEMA for a peek?
I don't
No.
think so, I think it's supposed to Cal OES.
Okay, so we'll send
And
it.
we have, I don't know if we've gotten you that contact, I know we had talked about it.
I don't think I have it yet, although I have been corresponding with some members of Cal OES and just,
Let me just see if I can text Mike real quick and see if he can send that, email it over to you, just so, because I'll forget by the time I.
Perfect. And then public comment, and then answer the comments, submit.
woohoo, it's that easy.
Yeah. Could have done this all.
I don't know if I missed this, but is the goal that people can come to these meetings having filled out the surveys and then also have time to listen to the meeting and fill out a survey at the end?
We want to provide a space during the meetings for people to fill out the survey, so if they have
Okay.
like any questions or anything, we can like work
Right.
through that.
Because that was probably how we got, you know, like all the responses in the fall was from the Firewise community meetings.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can provide some comedic entertainment just among ourselves to those who've already filled it out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Chat them up.
Okay, any more discussion on this item? Okay, so the next item is the defensible space grant. So there is a grant by CAL FIRE, the Climate Investment CCI, and California Fire Safe Council to build a defensible space in different jurisdictions. There is $500,000 max available to each awardee and 8 available awards. And each county is only able to have 1 grant submittal. So we've been in discussions about this. The grant was posted last Monday and is due on June 15th. So it's kind of like a quick turnaround window. I've started the narrative already. We're thinking about targeting communities that we've identified in Firewise have kind of struggled with defensible space and performing that work. And then also seeing if we can get some funds to assist the Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department in their defensible space program and going out to properties and helping remove like hazardous plant materials and that sort of thing. So we would greatly benefit from a letter from the Fire Safe Council in support of this grant once we have it all ready. But
So the intent is to do, as we discussed previously, some of the communities that struggled getting their renewals was Post Mountain, the Big Bar, Big Flat, Paloma, and then Burnt Ranch. And so we would like to target, we'd like to call it the 299 corridor project, and look on, have with the partnership with the Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department, targeting the Lewiston, Douglas City, Weaverville, Junction City sections of that, and then working with the RCD's crews to target Big Bar, Deloma, Burnt Ranch, and Big Flat. And so trying to do a corridor approach and package it that way. And so that's what we're looking at for this proposal. We don't have our projected acreage or cost budget put together yet, but that's our current intent. If anyone would like to comment on our proposal to help us formulate it.
So looking for approval today? Or want to do a letter that you email out and get an email vote on it?
Yes, letter with email vote would be my suggestion at this point.
And Skylar, this is being run through the California Fire Safe Council, did you say? Or is it?
in part,
The
yeah.
California Fire Safe Council is administering that outreach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shut up and abstain because I'm on the board of the California Fire Safe Council.
Thank you, Pat. So additional to this is some of the outside scope of work as we see with the Forest Service Big Branch project, that how our storyline will run is that this is going to be targeting the community centers in these areas that then are hopefully going to receive some larger forest treatments in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. But so working to really get the community stood up and active inside, and then have it continue to spread out away from the communities as the Forest Service gets their NEPA in alignment and up and ready to go. So some forward thinking of getting this interior to exterior strategy moving forward for these communities.
So your idea there then, if I'm understanding, you said 5 to 15 years as an overall goal, and this $500,000 is a 1 year, so this is to fund a year of future projections.
So it's to start, it's eventually going to help leverage more funds and intent. The goal with this is to do the defensible space for the private landowners. It does have preference for low income, disabled, vulnerable communities. And so our intent with this is to get the defensible space rolling, moving forward, adding to existing work to then complement and be able to use that as leverage with the Forest Service to say, hey, we just spent this money helping make our communities more hardened. Can you help us get our forest hardened around them? Let's do the fuel reduction, let's do this work. And so it just keeps that carrot moving forward that, you know, it's the private landowners that are in public are doing their component, we're doing our good work. Now let's, you know, I don't know what a NEPA timeline is going to be, that's why I gave that bigger timeline. Thank you. Good question.
Are there any other discussions or questions about this grant opportunity? All right. So I guess that's kind of in for grants a little bit, the next item. Is there anything else for grants? I don't see anything. Anything anybody wants to bring up?
Well, I guess, I don't mean to put Jill on the spot, but I do know that she had a recent conversation with county staff about Title III.
I did. And it's really disappointing to me because this is born out of a constituent reaching out saying, I always have hazard reduction crews come and help me. She didn't want slash, cut, or what have you. That work had already been done. She's got about 4 piles. She relies on the burning. And would that be available? And their Pat tells me there's $95,000 sitting there, so I got that number from you. But the process is about a 3-month process. Once you do your 30-day advertisement for proposals, and then a 45-day comment period, and then it comes to the board for decision, then it actually gets implemented. And so her piles aren't going to get burned. The CA did say, okay, I didn't realize I will start this process. And my ask going forward was, can this somehow be flagged so that we don't miss it again in the future? So he's committed to
How did
that.
they not miss it in the past? Do you know? It seemed like it was always pretty standard time of year.
Mostly because I kept bugging them. Gotcha.
Yeah, it seemed like it was always like in October, November.
Yeah,
it was November.
Proposal
Sure.
season, so maybe a suggestion would just be to ask, like, hey, can you set a reminder on your calendar and October 1st, hey, we need to prep this. But
So-
we could also bug them in October. That would be-
So it does seem like, I mean, in the past, you know, they put an ad in the paper and then there's like 30 days before people submit their proposals, and then the proposals just go to the Board of Supervisors for the Board of Supervisors to, you know, figure out which ones they want to fund. So from the county staff perspective, it just seems like putting an ad in the paper and starting the ball rolling, that's not that time consuming. Anyway, I don't see that it's 3 months worth of work. It's just, you start the process, then you get the proposals submitted, and then you put them in the Board of Supervisors folder, right? I mean, what's the super time consuming thing there?
I didn't mean to indicate that it's time consuming as far as county staff is concerned, just that once you get a 30-day window for proposals and then it goes to the board, and that can, if you don't hit it right, you could be looking at 2 weeks. And then there's a 45-day comment period before it's solidified. I'm just saying the whole process takes a long time, not that it's that labor intensive really.
Okay. And just to make another point, you know, we submitted our invoice for the money we spent last year at the end of January, and we still haven't gotten paid yet. So, and we're trying to close our books the end of June, our fiscal year. So, just seems like the whole Title III process is just kind of run to a clunking halt here.
And it trickles beyond that, because I think the money that Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department gets then pays the bill to Trinity County RCD, right?
Yeah. I think you might just want to follow up.
She has.
Okay.
Yeah, I've emailed like several times.
That every month you submit an invoice, they pay it right off the bat.
Well, ours,
I did.
Yeah, ours has not gotten paid. Susie's gotten like 3 or 4 emails, and so yeah. Anyway, don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, she missed one, that's just a problem, but
And you're saying that the RCD money funnels as a check.
No, so the Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department hired the Trinity County RCD to do the work.
And we paid them, and we submitted an invoice that said we paid them, and can we be reimbursed? And so it's money that we are out right now.
it always be submitted that way to bill for reimbursement time. So nothing's changed.
Carol, I'll follow up with the CAO on that additional piece for you.
Yeah, I mean, both Rick and Trent have tried to fix this. So, but I'm just bringing it up as an example of just how the whole thing seems to be broken at the moment.
Okay, understood.
All right, any more discussion on grants?
I would just ask that you make sure that in the next newsletter that since it's only one county application, that you comment that you're in the proposal process of any other entities want to collaborate on it, that they reach out to you so that it's not excluding any interested parties. If the fire safety council to be made the primary applicant. Okay, yeah. And then, do you know if the application is eligible to come from an RCD or if it has to come from the county?
It can't come from an RCD.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Next is Fire Safe Council Coordinator update. Most of what we've discussed today has been what I've been up to, updating the hazard mitigation plan for state and federal compliance, shining up the public survey so that it's ready to be pushed out to the public again, performing or reaching out to the different areas to make sure that we have solid locations for our community meetings, one in each district, as well as now working on this defensible space grant so that it is ready to go by the application deadline. We've also been working on the evacuation route updates. I have been in correspondence with Caltrans still about finding a sign that is consistent with their standards, but also has the messaging that we're trying to do for wildfire evacuation routes. So that is ongoing. Other than that,
That was Willow Creek.
oh my gosh, Willow Creek was fantastic. Thank you. Last Saturday, we went over to Willow Creek for their Firewise Fair and Youth Ecology Day. Smokey the Bear was there. Captain Cal was advertised to go, but he was not there, which Amelia told me he's quite the celebrity. He's very elusive. Cal Fire's mascot. But it was still great. There was a clown. We had 55 people come to our booth, which was fantastic. We reached out to the artist who prepared the art for our Fire Safe Council calendar, Gay Berrien, and she gave the okay for us to make little coloring pages out of her beautiful art with Ivan the Mule on it. And so that was great. And we were able to hand that out to children. Yeah, it was a massive success. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
It was great, but those are my updates. So we can move on to project updates. So I don't think we have anyone from BLM on or Cal Fire or Caltrans or High and Palm. Let's see. Oh, but we do have North Coast Air Quality sent a message to Charlie to read out during the meeting.
Yeah, I have an update from Deborah Harris that she emailed me. So she can be here today. She's at the office. She says the following are recent developments for prescribed burning and air quality. The district has developed a policy that burners with a smoke management plan who only plan on burning 1 10-foot in diameter pile do not need a burn authorization number to burn. Burning multiple piles larger than 10 feet in diameter piles or broadcast burning still require a burn authorization number prior to burning. District has improved the burn authorization process to include additional staff contact and voicemail information. I am still the primary contact for burn authorization number, but burners may also contact Alex Winkler at extension 128 to obtain a burn number. A sheet of instructions will be attached to all SMPs that will include how to obtain a burn authorization number. And burn authorization numbers can be obtained up to 96 hours out from date of ignition. Primary contact is Deborah Harris at 707-443-3093, extension 122. And secondary contact is Alex Winkler at 707-443-3093, extension 128. And then last point is the district has developed and is implementing a system to allow SMP holders to extend their SMPs provided there are no changes, for 2-year periods by completing an extension form. The extension form will be sent out with burn permit renewal information in November of each year. Which says if you have any questions or need further information, please let me know. And then she also says, Skylar, welcome to your new position. She looks forward to meeting you.
Oh, very nice. Okay, let's see. We do not have a representative from SAFE. We have a representative from SPI. Any updates? That's for Keith.
Wait a minute, got to unmute first. One thing at a time. Yeah, so as far as activities go, we have one new mastication operator who's just learning the ropes, and he's worked on fires before, but he's working on Hay Fork Summit. And so we're reinforcing or tuning up the fire lines for the monument fire. And we're going to see how far we get before fire danger changes and makes it prohibitive to run masticators. We also have another contractor who'll be starting up on the Rancheria Ridge fuel break. That was also part of a fire complex that was for the river complex, and we're going to tune that one up too and make that one more usable going forward. But that's pretty much what we have going. We have some projects going with the RCD under different project funding mechanisms, but in cooperation. And those are ongoing.
All right, great, thank you. All right. Trinity Center VFD.
Okay, hi. A few things. One is we did our fire safe open house, / celebration of the new building. Thanks, Keith, for coming up. Then we had between 80 and 100 people. I lost count. So I will send you photos because we had all our fire safe information out and people were checking all that out. So I don't see Shasta Trinity on there, but they did, just so you know, Keith, we had an issue with that 35N24 road that goes from Guy Covington up to Bowerman Ridge. Up on the Forest Service part, there was a huge tree blocking access, so we couldn't connect the two roads. So they went out yesterday and cut that tree out. And so I just noticed, running that road, at some point, it might be, if you have a masticator available, good to take out a lot of the little tiny stuff along the side of the road, just because that's a good way to get up on the ridge quickly from Covington. Anyway, just future thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know me and road maintenance. So anyway, I don't think Denise is on the call, but I did want to ask the RCD what the status was, if you know, of the mapping all the projects that are in the North Lake. At the last meeting, she said she hoped to have it done at the end of April to have, I guess you and Charlie, Denise and Charlie were working on getting all the Trinity camps and Bowerman Ridge fuel break and all those different things mapped? Do you know what the status of that is?
Yeah, I've been working on it and I just ran a draft by Amelia this morning, so it's still a work in progress. There's stuff I need to talk to Denise about related to data and pulling it all together. But as far as a timeline goes, I'm not so sure. I'll have another draft to run by Amelia next week. But I can't say for certain when it would be ready. I apologize.
Okay.
And we also found that the portal of the CWPP ArcGIS mapping was not included in the website switch, and so we're for Eric to get back next week to fix that. So then that link will, the map is live if you have the old link, but we need to put the link up on the website. So that's just something that got lost in transition that we found out. So we're fixing that.
But I've not forgotten about it, is the short answer.
You're muted, Carol.
I know, the pager's going off. Okay, thanks very much.
All right, Trinity County Board of Supervisors.
Just the town of Three, that's all I was gonna share with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trinity County Collaborative Group.
I guess that's me.
Not me.
I was out of town during the last field tour, which is up Bowerman Ridge, but my sense of how that went was that it was well attended and well received, and concerns that were being brought forward, particularly about treatment levels in the LSR lands were, I guess, abated. So, and maybe Xander can speak to that when he gets to his report out, since he was here, he was available for that meeting. Trying to think.
You had a collaborative meeting last week.
We had a collaborative meeting last week and then a rec committee meeting before that. More time thinking about the specifics.
There's nothing important.
I don't think, as far as it relates to this group, I don't have a lot to report out with regard to that.
Have a field trip planned, right?
We have our next field tour will be to part of Monument. Thank you for reminding me. Will be to part of the Monument fire in and around Junction City, and then we're taking another trip down to what the forest has dubbed the Big Ranch project, which is basically Big Bar up through Brow Bottom Road and then down Underwood Mountain Road into Burt Ranch. And as they're gearing up for that, there was some clarifications that they were wanting to discuss. So that's on June 16th. So there'll be information about that coming out within the next week or so. I think that's it.
Trinity County RCD.
So I'll start. This is probably going to be our last meeting with Charlie, so I just want to thank him for all the work that he's done, because next month he'll be prepping for camps. And so he won't be with us.
I didn't even know that.
But his last few months of minutes, agendas, getting all the newsletters out for us, doing a lot of social media, helping getting the local area advisors, doing home assessments, and also helping Miles promote all of our upcoming events and all of that kind of stuff, and helping us run community meetings in the fall and presenting them himself. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the RC for everything that you've done for the Fire Safe Council this year, and to Miles too, who's not with us today, but we appreciate all the work that he's done with us as well. So we look forward to you guys going to summer camp and having a great time and wrapping up your terms as Grizzly Club.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure helping out, meeting everyone.
Bethany, do you want to go next?
Sure. Okay, on the fuel side, super busy month. We've been doing major community chipping. I think it is our biggest community chipping ever. We have over 100 households set up. I've been mostly removed from that. Skylar has been helping a lot with all the outreach and organization, as well as Dave running the cruise. So we're done with the North Lake, Lewiston, Weaverville, Douglas City, and we're headed downriver next week. We've also got the crews working on the Lake Forest plantations, doing some thinning out there. That's part of a forest health grant we have with CAL FIRE. And we just had a CCC crew do a hitch out there, helping us out on that project as well. We're working with Keith on a fuel break on Brown's Mountain Ridge top. That's on a few small private parcels, and then also a lot of the SPI ground up there. So that's about halfway done, about 70 acres done, and yeah, some more to come. Those are the big things. And then we're continuing lots of planning work and survey work for that big project with the McConnell Foundation around Weaverville and in the North Lake. So those archaeology crews have been out, and will be out again the end of May into the beginning of June. And we've started preparing site-specific plans with all the landowners in that project to make sure that they are on board with our prescription and getting the work they need. That's about it.
I would add that we have executed agreement with the Six Rivers National Forest to do roadside fuel hazard within the county road right-of-ways that are currently active, so roughly within 25 feet of the roadside through county roads in the August complex footprint. There'll be some actual road work associated with that on the county roads that will be initiated, and hazard tree removal, and then there'll be a NEPA component of that project that expands from the county road right away to approximately plus or minus 200 feet on either side of the road. So that's going to be a pretty significant expansion of that right away for doing hazard tree removal through the burn complex, to the August complex burn footprint. So, but third-party NEPA being done by us on that. Those same three tasks are also built into our new stewardship. Well, what our new stewardship agreement that's in grants and agreements right now. So they'll be able to add additional funding for doing both the actual hazard tree removal and additional road work along county roadways. So that was recently executed. We had a meeting about that last week, and are beginning to make our initial steps towards that goal.
So I'm confused. 25 feet of road, 25 feet of the roadside, they say plus or minus 200 feet on either side.
So it's a two-part thing. They currently have, we're working with DOT with the Forest Service, and they want to initially begin the work within the actual road right away of the county, which is that 25 foot.
So that's NEPA approved.
That's NEPA, that's part of it's exempt because of the fact that it's within the county road right away. But they want to do a NEPA that would expand that from 25 feet out to plus or minus 200 feet on either side to be able to get more of those hazard trees removed along the county road right away. So we've done Bethany's done some initial GIS exercises to sort of identify those locations. We have some questions about exactly what the extent of that will be, particularly in areas where the fire burned down to a county road on one side, but you know, is not on the other side of the road. So there's some clarification that we need to do with regard to that. And then we'll be able to expand the actual implementation of that with the additional funding that will be coming in subsequent years through the stewardship agreement that we have, which is a much bigger 10-year agreement during implementation. But they wanted to get that started with disaster funding as soon as possible. And if Nancy wants to expand upon that on her report out, that'd be good too. And I think that's all I have for the group. Yeah, and I guess the other piece of news is that, real quick, is that Bethany's replacement as a project coordinator accepted our offer today, so we will be making more of an official announcement about that very soon.
Fantastic.
All right, okay, so I see Chris Cole is on for NRCS. We passed NRCS, so if you'd like to give an update or anything, or if you're just listening, that's fine too.
I guess I don't really have any updates except our main funding batch of equip already went through. That was last week, and we got, or I guess we found out last week, we only got one of our 5 or 6 projects funded. It was a ginormous project. And then our Joint Chiefs funding is coming up middle of next month, early next month. And then we have a couple projects lined out for that, which are more guaranteed kind of funding projects that are non-competitive. But I'm the new district conservationist for the NRCS. So if people slip between the cracks of other projects and you seem like they might be a good fit, they can call me.
All right, thank you. So I think next is Six Rivers.
Afternoon, everybody. Yeah, just like Kelly said, we're gonna be working on the agreements with RCD, Kelly and Cynthia and the crew. That's new, to get our roads back in the travelable again. Right now, you can't even leave the west side of the lake to go over to Hetenshaw Valley. That road's gone. Hazard tree abatement, like Kelly said, is going to be, besides the road repair itself, it's a hazard tree abatement. I'm kind of envisioning it will be similar to what we're doing under the August stewardship IRSC, where it's generally 250 feet above the road, 150 feet below the road. It's one of the primary concerns in hazard tree. The last Fire Safe Council meeting, the public identified that was their primary concern on the county road and on our roads. So getting into that, our August stewardship IRSC, hopefully we have proposals will be due to the solicitation for that sometime middle of June, I believe. Hopefully awards will happen early July. We'll be getting, I'll just speak to the fuels portion. We hope to get about over 4,000 acres awarded of hazard tree abatement. And I'm not sure if I've talked about this to so many people. Anyhow, it's basically broke up in 3 geographical areas. For us, the northeast is a Mad watershed, Mad Ridge Fuel Break, the south end, and then over what we're calling Double Gate in the Kenton Palm area. So it's a three-phase operation depending on funds, but first phase for us is simply following any tree that has potential to hit a target. In this case, it's the Forest Service road. And we've got priority 1, 2, 3 roads identified. And so the first phase will fall the trees, mitigate the hazard. Any material that hits the road will be decked or piled, depending on the size of material. Phase 2, as we get money, will be to re-enter those areas, either do a lot of scat or machine piling. We're going to have some areas where the stand replacing wildfire, high severity areas. We're going to have to do a lot of machine piling and lining to deal with a lot of those heavy fuels. And then phase 3 will be predominantly burning, pile burning, and jackpot air storage where it's appropriate. There are things in the queue for us as I'm going through this. Route 30, speaking of roads, right now we're on our end from Berry Creek, headed toward Shasta Trinity boundary. It's closed. I was talking to Cynthia today about it. It can be repaired even for a temporary fix. So, but for now we're closing that to traffic. We have alternate routes, either through Jones Ridge or other roads if we needed for evacuation. It's that time of year again, so as far as fire readiness, our hotshot crew, we're fully staffed. They'll have a readiness review, I believe tomorrow, and they'll be available nationally right now, actually. Our dozer's up and running. We have a new operator in addition to our old-timer operator. That's been going real well. They've been helping us open roads. We had an agreement with NCRS to get roads open. They utilized, just like Cynthia does with our operators, they utilized our local operators, and we got 100 to 120 miles of roads open to Al call points. That was the objective of road opening, was get to the Al call stations so we can get started earlier on projects. We had them equipped with a measuring tape. We got up to 15 feet over on by Watts Lake, say the Lassix area, and south of Horse Ridge was our last call station, and we were up to 13 feet there. So the great snowpack, but everything's getting down to less than 2 feet now in those areas. So we'll get those all opened up. And that's about it. I could go on. Oh yes, and also in addition to our fire readiness, let's see. The Southern Trinity volunteers are also up and running. The agreement we have in place with them has been working really well. Last year we used them more than ever, almost the whole summer. They were cover engines for us when we have the resource drawdown or when we're in high severity. So they did a lot of project work for us, and so we hope to keep that relationship going. The volunteers are just getting bigger and better. So that's in the report for Mad River today.
Great, thank you. And next we have the Watershed Research and Training Center.
Good afternoon. Don't have a whole lot in the way of updates. Fuels crews are working. I know we've had quite a bit of work for them in south of the city. I think we have a crew that started on South Fork Road in Sawyer. And then we've been variously helping open up some roads with the Forest Service to get access for their project planning and layout. I think currently our masticator is working with the BLM around Ewing Reservoir and Hayfork. And I think that's what I have for fuels updates. Kelly, could you reiterate that question that was raised about the collaborative? I didn't catch all of that.
Oh, I was just hoping that you might be able to expand upon the May 5th field tour that was done up on Bowerman Ridge.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I thought it went well. I thought we were able to answer all the questions that were raised in a satisfactory way. I haven't seen the any of the comments after the close of scoping yet, but yeah, I thought it went well. I appreciated the turnout we had there.
I might add, I want to thank Xander and Tara, because not only was there the field trip on that Friday, but they agreed to a Saturday field trip just for the community members up that way to focus on the project area of Guy Covington, Covington Mill, Bowerman Barn. And that was really well attended, and I think pretty positive response from the community also.
Yeah, thanks very much, Xander. I think that was great that you came up, and hopefully people had a better understanding and gave some good feedback, so.
No, that really was an excellent trip, because we were able to realize that there were a couple of holes in the project, as far as a few areas right adjacent to the community in Covington Mill there. So we were able to identify those and get a few more acres added into the project to help protect the community.
And the volunteer fire department did send a comment letter in, so hopefully we'll get included then in the comments. Specifically asking to add the end of those cul-de-sacs and all that, so thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Xander, this is Jill. Is there any chance, it's probably a really far outside chance, that the Watershed Center has any funding and you guys do any fuels reduction work or specifically burning for local residents in need?
I'm sorry, Jill, the audio wasn't great. Could you repeat that?
Oh, sure. Wondering if the Watershed Center has any funding at all for fuels reduction, but specifically for burning for local residents in need of that kind of help?
In the Weaverville area.
Correct.
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. Do you want me to email you with that info or just?
Yeah, you can, and just be expecting there's going to be someone approaching you with the same question. I have a constituent in need and we don't have Title III funding that's been allocated yet. And so there's no chance that Weaverville Fire has capacity for any kind of hazard reduction to help people out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too aware of what our fire folks have going on right now, but
This is confirmed piles, right?
This particular one is a request for several burn piles that the debris has been collected and they just need, I think she said 4 burn piles taken care of.
Yeah, I'll check and get back to you on that, Jill, if that's all right.
I think part of the issue too was, I think Jill, you told me that she said she does not have a burn permit because she always relied on the Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department handling that side of things.
And that's not a huge deal, and she could get a.
She could get a burn permit really quick.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be right though, because they required the landowners to have their burn permits before they do the burning, so that sounds a little iffy to me.
Maybe she's not sure.
Yeah, but yeah, it's $20.
But it's really small project.
Should not break the bank, right, but. Other than that, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Sandra. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Keith Greenwood has a question for Xander.
Hi, Xander. Hey, so this Bowerman project was kind of a test balloon, if you will, with developing the NEPA work for the fuels projects for the Forest Service, seeing how they were pretty short-handed. Do you feel as though you've gained enough, the Watershed Center's gained enough experience to know what kind of time frame and what that time frame might be for doing more projects in the future? We kind of picked off an easy one, but obviously there were some holdups in the process.
Well, I can tell you with a pretty high degree of certainty that it'll be faster on our end next time, now that we, collectively know what to expect, what the outcomes are going to look like. And we actually, I think, are just starting to look at our next NEPA project, which will be some manner of fuel breaks in the monument footprint in the vicinity of Junction City, possibly connecting down to Big Creek on the Hayfork side. And so we're gearing up to start that.
So do you feel that the Forest Service has buy-in on your abilities to initiate? Well, maybe they initiate and you guys do the project so they can go work on something else.
It seems like it, yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations then. Thanks.
Thanks.
Keith, I would add, being at the field trip, up on Bowerman on May 5th, that Tara was extremely not only supportive of what the Watershed Center was doing, but she, by and large, deferred to Xander and Randy on the technical issues.
Well, again, that's good, because what we had before this was no help. So we have to have buy-in, and then now we have help. So I think if we could spread the work around, we get more done.
Yeah, that's the goal. I do have one go back. Sort of the partner project to Bowerman obviously is our McConnell Foundation project, which we've gotten through scoping, addressed a few specific comments, particularly by Caltrans about potentially doing operations within Caltrans right of ways, which we're not intending to do as part of that project. So we addressed, the comments that we had, and the RCD board basically accepted the final mitigated negative declaration, and it's been now submitted to the county and the state clearinghouse. So that project now will be moving to through Cal OES. They'll be moving to NEPA through FEMA, and the expectation is that FEMA will have the NEPA completed after which time we'll be able to begin project layout and design and layout, and then implementation probably later in the fall of 2024.
So the negative declaration was for the CEQA document, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So Kelly, in the maps that were handed out, there was work along Highway 3. Particularly there was some areas on SPI ground up towards Trinity Center around the water treatment plant that would be on Caltrans right away. So you're saying that you won't be able to do that work around the water treatment plant?
There was.
I can take that question, Kelly.
Yep, go for it, Bethany. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the right of way is pretty small. We won't be able to work directly in the right of way, and that's coming from our funders because they think it's Caltrans's responsibility to work in the Caltrans right of way. We are pursuing, Caltrans is kind of interested in upping their fuels treatment because they've been getting a lot of pressure. So pursuing those smaller right of way sections, getting finished by them, possibly in partnership with us.
So there's going to be trees right along the road and then a gap where there's fuel reduction?
Yep, I don't like it either, but if they won't pay for it, yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Keith, did you have another question?
I do. So, and Bethany addressed most of it, but so is Caltrans providing some resistance internally, or is this, are they all in support? They just have to go through their process?
I guess there's two parts. There's the funding and then the environmental. In terms of the environmental, the comments they provided us, we're not at all resisting it. There's just specific restrictions like around how traffic control is done that need to be followed when you work in the right of way, because it's a Caltrans highway. So, you know, you have to have the certified flaggers, that kind of thing. That was what was provided as comment. The resistance from the funder, my understanding is that Cal OES, who is one of the funders, doesn't want like duplication of state funding in another agency's responsibility area. But there's no resistance from Caltrans to the work getting done. They may just have to find a way to fund it themselves.
Okay, that's good. I just heard a little bit of, there's a person at the Sacramento level who is more of a landscape architect who is putting a little more resistance up to some of the previous other projects going on around the state. More of a, it's okay to treat within 10 feet, but don't go beyond that type of a thing. And it doesn't fit our forested landscapes very well.
Yeah, I would agree. We didn't receive that for this project, so hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
All right. Pat passed me a note.
It's legible.
Oh, no, it is. Which is a good point in that we don't have a specific point within the project updates for Trinity County OES. So I wanted to provide a space now that we've gone through the groups. If you
I
have,
thought we was gonna get out of
any-
there. The other piece of that is we go A through Y and you now become Z.
Well, hey, better late than never. I just figured once they got through the list that they were gonna do it in roundtable, but no, I just started. So yeah, I can go ahead and report out. So OES land. Yesterday, I attended the pre-fire season meeting with Humboldt County. First half of the day was discussions from Forest Service, Cal OES, CHP, Red Cross was there. A great turnout, a lot of different departments and entities. And then the second half was a tabletop drill on a fire scenario burning into Garberville area. It just kind of gave myself and the people that I took with me a good idea of how other departments and how other areas work together, especially with OES and how the county OES sets up a emergency operations center to support the county departments, make sure that they Department of Transportation has food. There are a lot of the simple things that we don't think about, and making sure that we have enough staff to run the EOC through all of the shifts and timeframes. And then just kind of looking at some of the other areas, Red Cross, how they pre-plan and stuff. So it was really a good training for a lot of us, and to see how, and how we work so closely with Humboldt anyway, especially during the Six Rivers last year. We had a lot of discussion on our Code Red system versus their Zone Haven. They brought up a lot of good points on our Zone Haven on how some of the layers that they have added to their zones, giving even right down to each zone what the population is of that zone. One of the things that we've been working on with the Sheriff's Department is looking at those zones for people that might have disabilities, might not be able to evacuate, might have language barriers. So we're working with with Denise kind of helping us with the GIS layers and through our crisis track system to identify what's in that area. Is there water sources that they can use? Are there critical infrastructure that we need to protect? hospitals, cell towers, things like that. So the code red process is not only just the evacuation routes and descriptions that we're working on, but adding some of these other layers. And then trying to get everybody trained on it and how they're going to work. So that's been a big a lot of research this week on that for myself. We did receive the local area advisor submission, and that was sent to Novus to board of supervisors for approval on that. We do have coming up next week, Robert Goynich from Cal OES is coming down to do an incident command system position refresher training for the county staff. We've put it out to a lot of the county staff that had been a part of the Emergency Operations Center to train them on what fiscal does, what planning does, what operations do, PIO. He's going to be going over those. We're going to be doing 2 courses. We'll do one in the morning and one in the afternoon. I'm also, I think it's coming up. That's the, I don't know the exact date and the name of it. It just kind of came to mind because I'll also be over at the EOC when there's some flight rescue training that's going on at Weaverville Airport. So I'll be opening up the EOC for that for people, staff and people that are out there. So they have restrooms, cold water, things like that, services. So we'll have that opened up. I met with NorCal VOAD. I went to their meeting last week in Reading, and to kind of help Trinity County build our VOAD, volunteer organizations active in disasters. We're kind of been working with Humboldt and Humboldt Area Foundation on that. But it's kind of I'm trying to get a little better structure. So I'm reaching out to NorCal VOAD to kind of help us start fresh, because it's kind of gotten really just a lot of people piling on, and there's not a lot of structure. You know, the county's trying to stay out of it. It's not something that we're going to be running. It'll be something that the VOAD has a representative at the EOC when there's a need for it, and we can just go to them and get, tell them what resources we need and what areas we need them. So I've been working on that and trying to rebuild that. So other than that, yeah, that's been, and then I was in Blue Lake for a week. I'm taking a emergency management academy course. It's 5 courses over 3 weeks, but it's span over several months. Was there for a week. This month, I'll be there a week in October and another week in August. And it covers anything from the basic fundamentals of emergency management all the way through the science and finishing up with public information officer. They did cover a lot of mitigation. So that kind of spurred me to get back with Skylar and sit down and go, okay, I want to help with this hazard mitigation plan. And we've got a really good contact over at Cal OES. It's who will be submitting everything to, and he's given us a lot of good information. So unless there's any questions, that's what I'm doing.
I have
Jill has a
question.
question.
Idea on your flight rescue training. Is that like search and rescue or medically driven?
That is, I'm not even sure, Pat, do you remember who's putting that on? They're hoping to have 3 helicopters. Carol, are you aware of this flight, the helicopter training they're going to be doing in June?
Usually CAL FIRE, the
CAL FIRE, Forest Service. I think they were also trying to get a.
So it's an annual helicopter training they do for all, it's search and rescue and the volunteer fire department. So it could be, a lot of it is just how to load someone into the basket, if it's rescue in a remote place. Some of it is how to actually drop someone off, for us to hike out, which we've done. So it's just how the volunteer fire departments and search and rescue utilize the helicopters safely.
Okay, yeah, I got an email on it, and I have it down to, and I know Mike Tony had said that, you know, we're normally there every year just to help facilitate, crew that's around there.
And that's
Um,
June.
Yeah,
It's June 20th. Originally it was the 19th. They moved it to the 20th
all right, thank you.
at the Weaverville Airport.
Yeah, Todd is helping Josh Faulkner with it, and then they've asked us for a little bit of GIS support. They're still finalizing what they need, but yeah.
Yeah, aren't they gonna try to set up some remote locations and fly people back and forth? Something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, the email did say that they were gonna be trying to do some dummy rescues out in the woods and things like that, trying to list, some dummies out in Stokes and, bring them back to the airport.
Hey, now don't be calling those firefighters dummies.
I don't think that there's gonna be actual live bodies in those Stokes from what I read, but, I'm not volunteering. I'll make sure that the bathrooms are open and there's cold water.
Thank you.
All right,
So,
okay, well, that.
down to Z.
Yeah.
That's the other one. Thanks, Pat.
Unless there's any more comments or questions or anything else to add, I think that is the meeting at 2:41 PM.
Cool.
Thank you, Skylar.
Yes, thank you everyone for
Well, tighter
attending.
under budget.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Skylar.
Thank you.